y'all, welcome back. I'm about to head out of town for several days and my husband's going to be on his own with the 2 kids, and I wanted to set him up for success. So he has a few grab and go options, or options he can just put in the oven or the air fryer and have ready to go. I am going to be doing some convenience foods, but I also want to prep some items that, focus more on whole foods. And that way there's a bit of a balance in the house even though I'm not here. So I'm going to give you some of my tips and tricks on some easy grab and go options for those days when you just don't have the time, or maybe you're solo parenting, or you just want to have stuff that's easy to grab from the fridge or the freezer and is a little bit more nutritious. So let's get started on this week. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'll take inventory. I'm going to take a really detailed inventory this week using my little meal planner. By the way, I did just redesign my meal planner. Some folks had mentioned that it's difficult to read what they've written in these dark colored spots in the meal planning. So I've decided to change the color to a lighter color here that the pen and pencil should be able to be a little bit easier to read on. And I've also added more lines to the inventory sheet so you can fit more per page. And there's still a full year's worth of meal planning weeks, the blank ones here. So this book should last about a year, and I try to keep it about $10 US. So if you are interested in grabbing a copy, I'll put a link down below for you, and all of the updates will have been made by the time this video goes live. Plus there are notes pages in the back as well, and I've added a few extra notes pages because I do use a lot of those when I have my book, and usually I just put recipes I like, or if I'm making a meal plan, I'll usually use the back pages. So anyway, so that is what I'm using. I'm using the one that I currently have. This is the one I just designed, but oh boy. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and take a really detailed inventory and then start making my plan and see what exactly I wanna make and how I wanna go about doing this when I'm super busy this week. So let's go. So we shouldn't really need anything as far as snack foods go. So down here, I've got the snack foods that the kids usually choose from. So we still have some sweet things like cookies, some whole foods like nuts. We've got cashews, peanuts, dill pickle cashews, and then a few cracker options as well. And then a couple other things up here that usually my husband will grab. And then I do have some convenience foods on hand, like ramen for emergencies. I did just find this Pokemon chicken noodle soup. My daughter asked me to find it, and I did. So I found that. So we have some of those on hand. And those are higher in sodium though, and I usually don't, do that kind of food for the most part. It's just on occasion, just because I like to keep things balanced. But those are available for my husband to grab. And then I do have, this is actually Halloween candy up here, but I do have some sweet snacks. It's very unorganized. So I'm going to go ahead and kind of organize this really quick, but I do have quite a few things to start with, and lots of dried beans and oats and other dry ingredients too, and baking supplies. And I know for sure that I want to make some more homemade peanut butter. So I'll be doing that with these peanuts this week. And I also think I want to make some more of my chickpea chocolate chip pancakes, because I am trying to get a little bit more fiber in our day, especially because my kids are doing breakfast at school and they usually pick something that they like, not necessarily the thing that's going to give them the most nutrition. And so I want to try to give us some other options that are higher in fiber. So I think I'm going to be soaking some black beans so I can go ahead and make those this week too. Actually, I normally make the pancakes with chickpeas. And I do have 1 can of chickpeas, but I could make some of the chickpea pancakes and the black bean muffins. And they're both chocolate with chocolate chips. So I'm not really sure which way I want to go, but I'm going to kind of make the peanut butter and then see where I'm going from there. Okay, so while I get my next cup of coffee ready, I'm going to go ahead and throw these peanuts into a food processor and let them blend away for about 8 minutes. I just kind of give my food processor a break every couple of minutes to make sure that the motor doesn't overheat. And if you have a Vitamix, I've heard that that works as well. So again, it's just dry roasted, unsalted peanut. And also to save money on coffee, I've switched over because I have a Keurig. That's how I like it, because I never know if I'm gonna be able to have a second cup of coffee for a variety of reasons. And so I don't like to have a whole pot of coffee, sitting out, getting overheated and whatnot. So I switched over because the price is too much, by the way, on K-Cups now. It went up like, I don't know, $5 or something. So I think the price on the ground coffee too for my Peet's coffee that I was getting was also $5 more per pound. So I switched over to this German roasted dark low acidity coffee from Aldi. I have GERD, so I have to find things that are lower in acidity. And a darker roast usually has lower acid than like a medium roast or a light roast, but I did see that they offer a low acidity medium roast too at Aldi, and it's the German roasted, like this one here. I actually use these stainless steel cups. I had 1 cup of coffee already, so I just emptied out, you know, I just knocked out the old grounds here, and then I'll just put in, this is an 1/8 of a cup measuring, you know, container here, scoop, whatever you want to call it. And then I just put it in there and then turn it over and give it a bit of a squish. And then it comes with this lid here. Just put that right on, and then you've got your homemade Keurig K-Cup. So that's what I'm gonna do to save money, or I've been doing to save money on coffee. It's been working really well. Also, I picked this up, I think at the end of last season, and we just tried it a few days ago, and it's salted caramel apple spread, and I do not like it. It's more like, oh my gosh, it's like a jam consistency, and it definitely tastes like apple. So it's kind of like a thick applesauce with a little bit of a caramel flavor, but not in a good way. So I'm not really sure what to do with it, how I can maybe use this for something different that isn't just a spread on something. If you have any ideas, let me know, because I don't want to throw it out. I feel like there's, you know, a lot of good stuff in it that I could use to repurpose, but I'm not sure how. So if you have any tips, let me know. Okay, let's go ahead and pour all these in here. Dry roasted unsalted peanuts. So all the peanuts are in here now. When you get started on blending this, you're gonna see that it looks kind of crumbly. It doesn't look like it's coming together, but it will come together. You just have to continue the process. It will release the oils from the peanuts and then start to emulsify after just a few minutes. But if you have started blending it and it's been about 3 minutes and you're not seeing anything, you know, kind of start to get creamy, then I would add just a teeny tiny bit of oil, be like a neutral oil like avocado or something, or if you have peanut oil, that would work great too. All right, just so you know though, it's been about a minute and we're already seeing some of it look like peanut butter on the bottom, but you do want to go for at least 5 minutes so it's nice and creamy. If you want it to be more creamy, you can go the full 8 minutes like I do. I like it nice and smooth, but if you want a chunky peanut butter, go ahead and blend it for about 5 minutes, then add a little bit more peanuts and just give it kind of a quick chop, and then you'll have nice chunky peanut butter. So you can make it either way. So this time I'm gonna add a couple tablespoons of milled flax to add more fiber and omega-3s. And you could add some honey for sweetness, but I usually like to do that later on because I use this for a variety of baking recipes and cooking recipes. So I just wanna add this in right now. You could add chia seeds, but I don't want that kind of fiber. This is the kind of fiber that I want. And so I'm just gonna add this in, and it's not going to really change the texture or anything. It's gonna really blend in nicely, but you can add whatever you want, any nuts or seeds, any sweeteners, just anything you want with this. And if you hear heavy breathing, that's my dog, because he knows that when I make peanut butter that it's time for a treat. But this time I don't know if they could even have flax seeds, so I'm not gonna give this to my dog. I'd have to look that up first. So anyway, I like to just store it in a mason jar in the refrigerator, and it lasts several months or a couple months. I honestly don't know. I've never had it last that long because we go through it. So I'm not even sure when it would really go bad in the refrigerator, because it really just lasts a long time because it's just peanuts, and this time milled flax. So this is the consistency that it looks like now, you can see, so nice and smooth. And it's really, really runny right now because it's hot, it's warm, but when it gets in the fridge, it solidifies, and then it's really easy to, let me go show you the one that is in my refrigerator right now so you can see how smooth it is straight from the fridge. Okay, so this one is straight from my fridge, and I only have a little bit left, but just straight from the fridge, you can see how easy it is to just get straight out of there, and it's very spreadable. So you can see it's not like the kind that you get from the store where it's all hard. It's very easy to spread. You can see how smooth it is. I might as well just treat myself to some peanut butter on toast right now because this looks really good. And there you go, homemade peanut butter. Now to move on to everything else this week. Today's been a little busier than I had planned, so I'm gonna go ahead and reheat this soup that I froze last week. Let me open it. Okay, I'm just gonna go ahead and boil some noodles on the side. My daughter doesn't like noodles, so I'm just gonna leave hers without. And then I'm gonna heat this up straight in a pot, and it'll be ready in about 15-20 minutes or so. My husband actually is out of town, so he's not gonna have his portion. It was an unexpected last minute business trip. So I'm just gonna kind of wing it this week. And I'll just save this one for later, all by itself. Here is all of the soup. This one is my son's here. This one's mine, and that's my daughter's. She's also gonna have some grapes with hers. And then I've got some sourdough, one lightly crispy or crusty and the other two really crusty, and that's it. That's all we're doing for dinner. A lot of times I'll do a salad with this, but I don't have any salad goodies on hand right now. All right, I finally got it all organized, and now I can head to the store and pick up only things that we need to complete meals. And I think we have plenty to start off with, but I do want to get a couple of essentials. Now that I'm back home, I'm going to go ahead and eat my leftovers, and that'll save me a little bit of extra money too, because I'm not going to get takeout. I'm tired, and thankfully I have something really easy to eat right now. It's literally a downpour all of a sudden here in Southern California. I'm just prepping really quick before I go get the kids from school, so I don't have to do as much of the prep later on. So I'm just gonna go ahead and chop my onion right now. I'll put it in the fridge, and it'll be ready for whatever I'm making for dinner later on. So I'm gonna enjoy the rain while it lasts, because it's probably only gonna be here for like 5 minutes. I'm about to go sit in the pickup line for a couple hours, because I just work anyway. On my phone or my laptop. So when it's, you know, inclement weather, as we call it here in California, when it's raining, like this at least, we don't know how to drive. So it's a little bit more dangerous to walk and, you know, across streets and things like that. Anyway, and honestly, we don't even own rain boots. So we would just get soaked. We have umbrellas, but they don't really work that great when it's windy like this. But anyway, I'm gonna make myself a little coffee while I wait in the pickup line. I found this cute little lid here. I don't know, did I get this at Aldi? I feel like maybe I did. It's like a kitchen gadget that was there. I should see if they have more, but it fits like just a standard lid, like a ball or mason jar, and it could be used for like salad dressings, or in this case, I'm gonna use it for my coffee drink, so I can drink and then close the lid. Oh, it's gonna be so fun. Let's try it out and see how it works. So many noises right now. It's so loud outside. I hope that this glass doesn't break. Well, it's not super pretty, but it works. By the way, this works really good. It's not leaking or anything, and I see that the brand is called Mason Tops, so I'll make sure that I put a link. Sorry about all the water spots. I did put it in the dishwasher to clean it. So I am going to see if I can get some more of these, because this is really handy. And I think I could use it for dry ingredients too. So that's great. Okay, it is finally time to cook dinner tonight. I'm going to just grab a few things out of the fridge, make something that I want to eat tonight. And then I'm also going to make a batch of Chuck's Party Mix too while I'm in the kitchen already cooking dinner. So that way I can have an extra snack that my husband absolutely loves on hand. Plus I love it too. So I'm going to make that and dinner at the same time. Finally going to get this, because this is the perfect dish to use this in. Let's make sure the date's still good, November 13th. Perfect. Because I like to just buy this whenever I see it. It's only $1.55 at Aldi. So I'm going to use this today in dinner. I've also got the onions that I prepped earlier, plus the marinara sauce that I picked up today from Aldi. And I'm going to be making lasagna soup. And I don't have, I think I might actually have lasagna noodles on hand, but I could use these. These are similar to lasagna. They've got kind of that same outer edge, but it's like trumpets, I think is what it's called. And I have just a little bit left of that, so that would be good for this, because it's not a recipe I necessarily use a ton of noodles for, but actually I do have just a little bit of lasagna. Oh my, wow, what a mess. Oh my gosh, Laura, let's get it together. I don't have enough lasagna noodles to make an actual lasagna, so this is the perfect recipe for that. I usually start this recipe with the onions and garlic first, but with the tofu, it takes a little bit longer for this to crisp up. So I'm going to drain out the liquid and pat it dry, kind of get as much liquid as I can out, and then I will put this in the pot first and then do the onions and garlic after. So a little bit different than normal. All right, so I'm just going to start with some avocado oil. Actually, I'm going to use olive oil. It is Italian. All right, let's add this tofu, and I've just kind of sliced it a little bit. Now that that's in the pot, I'm not going to touch it for a few minutes. I want it to get a little bit browned and dried out on the one side before I start moving it around. So I'm probably going to leave it realistically like 4 or 5 minutes, and then I'll check on it to see if it's ready to be turned. Let's get back to this. Let's see how we are doing on this. So it looks like it needs a little bit more time because it is sticking. It will release from the bottom of the pan when it's nice and brown. A couple more minutes, I think. But see, I got a little bit of sticking going on. It's going to be okay, because I'm going to add broth in just a little bit here after we get the onions in. So my tofu is looking very crispy now. Some crispy, some not so crispy. So I'll go ahead and add in my onion at this point. I'm going to saute this onion until it's nice and soft and translucent, maybe 2 or 3 minutes, and then I'll add some garlic. So I'm going to go ahead and add in my chicken stock. which this time is actually just bouillon and water. Now I was gonna do minced garlic, but then I ran out of time. I didn't have it prepped when I got started, and I'm doing too much at once. So I'm just gonna add garlic powder instead. That's kind of a shortcut. I'm gonna be adding a jar of pasta sauce next. I like the marinara, but honestly, any pasta sauce will work for this. And don't forget to add water to this so we can get the rest out. I'm gonna give this a mix. And then I'm gonna bring this to a simmer. I'm gonna add some garlic powder right now to season the taste. Once that starts boiling, then I'll add my pasta as well. I've got the party mix in the oven. I had to run over to the pot because it started to burn, and then the butter solidified on that before I got it all mixed up. So in 30 minutes or so, I'm gonna check on it and try to get some of the butter mixture coated on the rest of it. If not, it's still gonna be delicious. It's just some pieces are gonna have a lot of butter and some are gonna have none. This is what happens when I rush and just kind of wing it. Things just end up a little bit chaotic. So just one of those days where I try to do a little bit too much and maybe I should slow down. You know what I'm saying? But if I don't get it done now, when am I gonna get it done? I don't know, story of my life. Okay, it's starting to boil now, so I'm gonna go ahead and add my lasagna noodles. I think these are the no-bake kind. Oh, good, put them all down. I think these are the no-bake lasagna noodles, so I'm gonna go ahead and break them apart, put them in, and I think about 12 minutes usually, so I'll check it about that time and see. These are actually a lot harder to break than you would think. Timer for 12 minutes. Whoa. All right, I'm gonna mix this in, and I'll check on this in about 12 minutes or so and see where the noodles are at. I've got 1 ounce of cream cheese that I've separated into little cubes here. I'll add at the end, plus some of the finely grated Parmesan cheese. And you can add this, or you can add like the regular stuff that you grate yourself, whatever you want to do. And then I usually add a little bit of milk too, so I might add that. I'll just kind of play it by ear. So it's been about 12 minutes, and I think the noodles are pretty well cooked. I am going to be cooking this a little bit longer though, so I'm not too worried about it. I'll continue to cook for a few more minutes because I'm going to add in my cream cheese now. Cream cheese does take a little bit of time to melt, so that's why I always put it in little cubes. Add about 1/2 cup of this Parmesan. I'm just going to let this cream cheese melt, and then we'll serve it on up. This looks so delicious. Everything is nice and melty. Oh my goodness. I can't wait to eat. Here is my son's plate. I gave him a few carrots, a string cheese, and a croissant to go with his soup. My daughter's having celery sticks with some sourdough with butter on top, and also string cheese. And we'll see. They've never had this soup, I don't think, so we'll see if they like it. Let's dig in. I'm also gonna freeze my leftovers in the 2-cup super cubes for later too, and I have some leftovers for lunch tomorrow. My daughter said the soup was meh, and then my son hasn't tried it yet. Are you gonna try it?
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow, okay, so I'll save this for tomorrow for him to try. I just dropped the kids off at school a little while ago, got a little bit of work done, and now I have to cook a lot of things. I'm gonna start with my chickpea pancakes, and then I think I'm going to make some chili in some freezer bags to have to put in the freezer. So that way, when I get back from my trip, there's gonna be a few freezer meals on hand to choose from. I'm also gonna be making some lentil curry as well for a freezer meal. And then I saw at Aldi that they carry pumpkin cranberry muffins, and they're like $5 in the freezer. So I've got a can of cranberry sauce from last year. I'm gonna use that. I'm gonna whip up a batch of pumpkin muffins with cranberry and see how they turn out. I'm hoping they'll be good. I think they will be. I'm really excited. So let's get started. So I'm just gonna start by adding 1 can of these drained and rinsed chickpeas. 1/3 cup of milk. You can use plant milk or regular dairy milk, whatever you want to do. 1/2 cup of peanut butter, about 1/4 cup of maple syrup, but you can use any sweetener that you love. I haven't tried it with any other sweeteners because maple syrup works amazing, but you can definitely experiment. You can do honey or anything that you like instead. Then we're gonna add 2 eggs. 2. Next, I'll add a teaspoon of baking soda, 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla extract, and 1/4 cup of cocoa powder. And this is unsweetened cocoa powder. I'm just gonna go ahead and blend this up until it's completely combined. And now I'm gonna mix in about 1/2 cup of chocolate chips. I normally like mini chocolate chips for this, and this is semi-sweet, but you can use whatever you have on hand, whatever you like. Dark chocolate, milk chocolate, but I think semi-sweet works perfect for this. I'm just gonna give this a mix, and then we're going to cook it on up. And this is one of the only times I actually use non-stick anymore because I don't like the pancakes when they have butter or oil on them. And I've done stainless before, but I just really don't like them as much that way. So I use non-stick to make sure that they don't stick to the pan because they're a little bit more finicky than regular pancakes, but you can still cook them like regular pancakes. And same thing as regular pancakes. Sometimes you're gonna get, one batch that's a little bit too cooked. So definitely still a learning curve with these two, but just be patient. Make sure that it sets completely on one side before you flip it. Burnt those ones a little bit. I'll just eat that one myself. Happens every time. Just like I feel like with regular pancakes, I always burn the first batch a little bit. And just so you can get an idea of what the middle looks like. So you can see that the middle is cooked through and you've got some melty chocolate chips. And also I like to cook these in the microwave, but you can use a toaster or something like that straight from frozen. So I'm just gonna freeze all of these. And then when we go to actually eat them for breakfast, I'm just gonna pop them in the microwave until they're heated through. And they turn out so good. I love eating like 3 of these when I cook them. They're just so good. They're hard to resist. So I decided I wanted to get some red lentils in my chili, my freezer chili. But the thing is, when you cook lentils, if you add any tomato to it, the cook time just triples or more for lentils. It really slows down the cooking process. So I'm just gonna go ahead and boil or simmer some red lentils for 10 to 15 minutes, get them all cooked through, and then I'll cool them a bit before I add them to the bags for the chili that I want to put in the freezer. Still trying to finish my cup of coffee over here. I want to start doing I've seen people do tape, like masking tape on here, and that way they can reuse the bags. I want to start doing that because things like pancakes, I mean, it's not like raw chicken or anything. I feel like I could easily clean the bag and reuse it. And to be honest, I've never reused Ziploc bags before, so I'm not familiar with how well they hold up and everything. So maybe I'll try that with this one and see how it goes. Here's my beautiful plate of pancakes, which I really wish more people would try. I've shared these dozens of times on my social media, and very rarely does somebody come back and say they've tried them. A lot of people tried my black bean muffins, the chocolate chip black bean muffins. People love those. Well, actually, the jury is out, okay? So some people love them and some people hate them and say they could taste the beans. But this one uses chickpeas. And the chickpeas have a lot more mild flavor than black beans. And so I think these would be more well received from everybody. I really think, and it's like almost the exact same ingredients, to be honest with you. Very, very similar recipe. And so I really think that if you get the chance to try these, I think you would really be pleasantly surprised. So I'm gonna throw these in the freezer, piece of cake, lots of delicious, high fiber pancakes ready to go for me or my husband to cook for the kids, because the kids actually really love these. So the lentils are done. I'm actually just going to strain out all this extra liquid because I put way too much because I didn't measure. And then I will set them aside to cool in the refrigerator until I'm ready to assemble everything. By the way, if you've never had red lentils before, they just kind of turn into mush and can be put into anything. But honestly, they're kind of peppery and very earthy. And to me, they have like a really strong bean flavor. And so I usually try to put them in something like chili or something that already has beans in it. I did not like it when I tried these in spaghetti sauce. I felt like it was too strong. So just so you know, if you've never had them before, that's what I would start with. Something that already kind of tastes earthy and bean forward, and that way you won't really be able to tell. And then you can kind of get used to the flavor too, and then decide how you want to cook with them. So you won't believe this, but I'm actually almost out of chili powder. And you can't really have chili without chili powder, but instead of completely canceling my plans to make the chili, I'm just gonna write instructions here on the bag to add chili powder. I've already added it to my grocery list. I don't know why it wasn't on there already. Usually when I get down to this much, I know to pick it up. I've looked everywhere that I keep my spices. I don't see any, so I'm not sure what happened there. So I'm gonna go ahead and get started on putting all this together, and then I'll just make sure I follow my notes when I go to cook it later on, and it'll be a piece of cake, no big deal. Okay, I'm gonna pour in my can of chili beans. I'm actually not gonna rinse these. I don't know why I even poured out the liquid, because I actually like the liquid in the chili beans, because that's where all the flavor is. So you don't need to rinse or drain chili beans, because they're literally beans for chili. So don't do what I did. Don't drain it. Just use it. It's delicious. Now with things like these white beans and black beans, I think most of the time it's just salt and water. And so you can drain and rinse these because it's not gonna matter that much. And it is not necessary to even drain and rinse those beans though, because like I said, it's just water and salt. Oh look, I have like a bad bean in here. Let's get that out of there. So it's just water and salt, you know, so you really don't have to worry about it unless you're trying to avoid the sodium. Then you can rinse it, but the liquid is incredible. So you definitely can just pour the whole can in here and then just omit the water in the recipe. I'm gonna add an entire can of crushed tomatoes plus a little bit of water to get the rest of this tomato out of there. There you go. I also remembered that I do have some diced onions from the freezer. So instead of using that onion that I diced earlier, I'm just gonna throw the frozen onions in here because this is gonna work great for this recipe since I'm just going to simmer these anyway and I don't have plans to cook the onions first anyway. So I'm just gonna do that and make it work. I'm gonna also add some frozen corn because I like corn in my chili, but if you don't, then don't add it. I've got my cooked red lentils here, so I'm just gonna add maybe about 2 spoonfuls. I would say that's maybe, half a cup or so of cooked red lentils. Now I'll add my seasonings. You can add as much seasonings as you like. I'm just gonna do like heaping teaspoons of everything. So this is cumin. There we go. I'm gonna also add a heaping teaspoon of paprika. You can use smoked paprika too if you like. If you have a spice rack and if you've never used marjoram before, this is the perfect recipe to use your marjoram finally. I like to just use like a half a teaspoon, but it just adds kind of a nice, I don't even know how to describe it, but just kind of a little bit of that sort of fresh flavor. I don't know how to describe it, but it's really delicious. Add marjoram to all your chili. It's amazing. All right, again with the heaping teaspoon. With this recipe, it's basically all just a heaping teaspoon of everything. This is garlic powder. This just makes it easy because then when you're cooking, you only need the one utensil, you know, just one little teaspoon to measure everything. So, and this is onion powder, so 1 heaping teaspoon of onion powder. And then as far as salt and pepper goes, that's gonna, you know, just depend on your personal preference. If you're trying to do lower sodium, just skip the salt altogether. But I would say maybe start with half a teaspoon and then go from there. We like spice, so I'm gonna do, you know, like maybe a half of a teaspoon of pepper, and I can always add more later. I'm gonna grab one of my carrot sticks that I cut earlier. And in order to sort of neutralize the acidity, because I do have GERD, so it's tough for me to have things with tomatoes in it sometimes. So I try to neutralize the acidity by microplaning a carrot in here. You can also use sugar. Some people say baking soda works good too. And I've never tried that, so it just depends on what you want to do. You can also just do the diced carrots like I did, but I don't know. It just depends on what you want. I feel like this works for me, so this is what I do. So I'm just gonna microplane a carrot. You can use a baby carrot if that's what you have on hand. I've done that before too. Any old carrot will do. And now we're all done. That took me all of 10 minutes or so, probably because I was talking too. But I'm just going to get the air out and seal it. And then I'm just going to sort of mix it on up. And then I'll lay it flat and place it in the freezer. And then I've got 2 really easy dinners, just straight from the freezer. Look at that beautiful chili ready to go. And that's it. I love chili, so easy. And I've separated the rest of the red lentils into small bags and just flattened them. I'm gonna throw these in the freezer too so they're ready to go for later. We ended up watching a movie and having popcorn, so I didn't cook. So I'm gonna cook now. We're actually doing you choose night. I'm having lentil curry. My son's gonna try this chickpea mac and cheese, and my daughter's gonna have a cheese and mayo sandwich with veggies. And it was honestly so good last time that I'm gonna go ahead and make a double batch here. So I'm gonna add about 6 tablespoons of butter, add my 2 onions. Hope I can put everything in this pan. 2 carrots that I've sort of diced or chopped or whatever you wanna call that. I did chop some ginger, but last time I used ground ginger and it turned out great, so I'm gonna use some ground ginger again this time. So I'm gonna do 2 teaspoons of ground ginger. I'll also season this with about 2 teaspoons of salt, because again, this is a double batch. Normally I measure with my heart, but I really liked how it turned out last time, so I want to make sure that it's exactly the same. I feel like this pot is going to be too small. This does happen to me sometimes. Oh my. All right, I'm going to switch over to a bigger pot before I get too far ahead in here. All right, now that everything is soft and tender, I'll add a bit of garlic. I'm going to add about maybe 4 cloves of garlic that I've minced. I think the double batch uses 8 actually, so I'm just going to add everything I've minced. And I'll just saute that for just a minute more. So I'm going to add 1/4 cup of curry powder. And I got this one from Thrive Market. I really like this blend. Oops, a little bit extra, but that's okay. And then about 1/2 teaspoon of cayenne. And you can add more if you like. Maybe I'll add a touch more this time. I'm gonna add double. Right now I'm just gonna saute that for about a minute or so. Let the spices bloom. I'm gonna add about 6 cups of water because I don't have broth today. Now I've got to get my lentils ready because I haven't rinsed them yet. I didn't quite have 2 cups of green lentils. That would have been a double recipe. So I'm going to add this 1 and it's like 1 3/4 cup. I'm going to go ahead and add the coconut milk too. I gave this a good shake, and the 2nd can of coconut milk. Now I'm just going to give this a stir, and I'm going to let this, I'm so glad I switched to another pot, by the way. That would have not been enough room. I'm going to go ahead and let this start simmering covered for maybe about 20 minutes. I might let it go the full 30 minutes. I don't like to add the tomatoes at the beginning because it slows down the cooking time, and I don't want this to take forever. So I'll bring this to a simmer, a little boil there, reduce the heat a bit, and then cover it and simmer it. Here's my son's mac and cheese, which is, by the way, really delicious. I'll definitely buy this one again. And he's having some celery with it too. And my daughter's cheese and mayo sandwich with celery on the side. It's been about 30 minutes or so. I'm going to add the tomatoes, and I'm just going to let this reduce for about 10 to 15 minutes. All right, 2 cans of diced tomatoes. Bring this back up to a simmer and let this reduce for about 10 to 15 minutes. I'm going to go ahead and serve myself up a bowl while it reduces further. I'm just going to let it simmer here while I eat a little bit of it, but it's not quite reduced enough. But that's okay. I'm just going to go ahead and eat because I am hungry. It's more like a soup right now, but it's still delicious. And I'll just serve it up on some crusty bread, and then I'll let the rest reduce, and then I'll freeze it in portions. I'm going to freeze it like this, and then when I go to cook it later on, I can reduce it even further. So that works just fine. Okay, let me show you a quick rundown of everything I have planned, everything that they can choose from for this week, so you can see exactly what they kind of have planned. I've got hard-boiled eggs. I'm going to throw these in the refrigerator after I peel them. In the refrigerator, I have celery sticks and carrot sticks all prepped and ready to go, a couple of lunch kits, some leftover mac and cheese. I also have croissants, lots of eggs, yogurt, some bread for toast, lots of milk, and down below I do have baby carrots, spinach, apples, and more carrots and celery. And in the freezer I have hash browns, lentil curry, chicken noodle soup, lasagna soup, some tater tots, soft pretzels, homemade pumpkin bread, pumpkin waffles, pancakes, chocolate chip pancakes, and down below I have some nuggets so they can get into those, fish sticks, and some cooked chicken, a few burritos as well. 1 mini pizza, a couple of frozen broccolis, lots of frozen fruit for smoothies, lots of frozen veggies down here as well. And in the outside freezer, these corn dogs are actually on recall. I have to return those, so they can't eat those. But I do have some thin crust pizza and French bread pizza here. As you can see, I also have a lot of treats. We've got a lot of ice cream, and then some random meats they can choose from if my husband decides to cook. And last but not least, I've lined up some of their favorite things up in front so they can choose some fruit. We also have pasta rings, some Campbell's soup, and corn, ramen, and some random canned items. And of course, they're all set on all of the snacks this week. And I created this little sheet from Canva to kind of let the kids choose what they want and see what's available just kind of at a glance. I didn't include any of the extra meals that my husband might like his burritos that are in the freezer, because he can obviously see what he has. But for the kids, if my husband says, what do you guys want to eat for dinner? They can come over here and choose one from each column. You know, they can have chicken wraps with carrot sticks or whatever they choose. So this is just going to make the kids feel a little bit more involved in, you know, what to eat, and then they'll know what's on hand, so that way they're not going to take out, hopefully. I hope you enjoyed this video and at least got a few ideas for things to make in your home. And if you have any tips and tricks on anything from this video, be sure to leave those down below in the comments. And YouTube thinks that you'd like to watch another video, so go ahead and click on that wherever it is. Enjoy it, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.